from cover to cover. Oh, yes, sir, I'm a real book lover. I get nutrition from science fiction. A paperback is a tasty snack. Literature was my favorite feat. That is until I learned to read. Now I read books from cover to cover. Oh, yes, ma'am, I'm a real book lover. I've been reading ever since I lost my horns of ignorance. Why don't you be a real book lover like me?
Are you perfect? Do you think you could ever be perfect? I asked several kids what they think it means to be a perfect person.
My idea of being perfect is being considerate of other people, like listening to them and really paying attention.
I think a perfect person should be polite and should care how other people feel. My idea of a perfect person is someone who can swim better than I.
You have to know how to eat a taco with a crumbly shell without spilling one speck.
Another idea of being perfect is being a good sport. Like if I lost in a game, I would go, if I was perfect, I would go and congratulate the other team instead of flunking away back to home and yelling, "That was no fair, that ref was a dummy."
A perfect person doesn't do anything wrong. And I can't say that for most people, but not even for myself.
Being perfect means something different to different people. Today's book is about perfection. Be a Perfect Person in Just 3 Days by Stephen Manis. This is the story of Milo Crinkly. Milo was anything but perfect, but his life began to change one day when he was at the library. A book fell from the very top shelf and hit him on the head. He picked it up and read the title, Be a Perfect Person in Just 3 Days by Dr. K. Pinkerton Silverfish. Milo was intrigued. Be a perfect person. He opened the book, and this is what he read. Who says I can make you perfect? I do. I, Dr. K. Pinkerton Silverfish, am an expert on perfection. If you don't believe it, just ask me. Turn the page. Now, isn't this easy? Very good. You turn the page, you can be trusted to follow orders. This is essential if you wish to become perfect. Now I'm going to tell you what you have to do if perfect is what you want to be. It will take you exactly 3 days. Each evening you will read exactly 1 chapter of this book. You will follow my instructions precisely. At the end of the 3rd day, you will be perfect, and I will congratulate you. But let me tell you something you'd better not try. Under no circumstances should you attempt to become perfect in less than 3 days. Whatever you do, don't read more than 1 chapter each day. Many people are tempted to sneak a look at the very last page before the 3rd day is over. All I can say is, don't do it. Well, you know, Milo did exactly that. He went straight to the last page, and this is what he read. Boy, are you dumb. Didn't I tell you not to look at the last page of this book? Do you want to become perfect or don't you? All right, I will give you 1 more chance. When you're finished with this page, shut this book. Some evening, when you're ready to get serious about being perfect, open it to page 10. There you'll find instructions on what you are to do on day 1 of your program of perfection. Now shut the book, and don't say I didn't warn you. Milo decided that he would become perfect.
Milo had 2 cream-stuffed Twinkles and a glass of milk and went to his room to get his homework out of the way. It took him longer than usual because his mind kept drifting to Dr. Silverfish's book. Milo kept imagining what it would be like to be a perfect person. He'd be able to do anything he wanted to and do it right the first time. He would be able to throw out all his erasers. He could correct his teachers in front of the class and never be wrong. He'd get perfect scores on all his tests. Best of all, nobody would ever have anything to scold him about. It sounded, well, perfect. He decided he'd read Dr. Silverfish's instructions right after dinner. Of course, he was far from perfect yet. At dinner, his father told him not to slurp his soup. His mother told him to quit eating so fast, and his sister told him to put his feet on his own side of the table. Milo couldn't stand it. I bet you'd love me if I turned perfect, he said. His mother chuckled. Not much chance of that, is there? "I'd settle for okay," said his father. "Nobody's perfect." "Especially Milo," laughed Alyssa. "I'll show them," Milo thought. Just 3 more days, and he gave his sister a kick under the table. There was no sense being perfect until he had to be. After dinner, Milo went upstairs, sat down at his desk, and picked up his copy of Be a Perfect Person. Even with the clown nose, Milo decided, Dr. K. Pinkerton Silverfish looked extremely intelligent. Milo began wondering what the K stood for. Carefully, so he couldn't possibly stumble on anything he wasn't supposed to read yet, he opened the book to the inside back cover and found Dr. Silverfish's biography on the jacket flap. Is Dr. Pinkerton K. Silverfish the world's leading authority on perfection? You bet your booties, Grandma. He's also Thompson Seedless Professor of Enology at the Ripple campus of Skid Row College. He holds degrees from Fahrenheit University and Centigrade Institute, but when his arms get tired, he puts them down. As a hobby, Dr. Silverfish raises Venus flytraps. He also owns the world's second largest collection of unusual toothpicks. Milo closed the book. His question remained unanswered, but he felt ready to begin. He took a very serious, deep breath and opened the book to where he'd left off at the library. Day 1. You can't take the last step to perfection until you take the first. I know what you're thinking again. You're wondering what the K in my name stands for. Well, I'm not going to tell you. There are a lot more important things than wondering what the K stands for, and that's why you're here. Close your eyes, count to 10, and open them again. Milo did. Wasn't that a lot more important than wondering what the K stands for? Of course. Now, here are your instructions for the first day. When you finish reading this, get a stalk of broccoli and tie a loop of string around the end. When you're all dressed tomorrow morning, put the string around your neck and wear the broccoli like a necklace. And don't take it off until I tell you to. See you tomorrow. Milo couldn't believe his eyes. He turned the page. Well, don't just sit there and stare. Go get the broccoli, and don't turn any more pages. Shut the book this instant. Milo obeyed. He set the book down on his desk and looked at the picture of Dr. Silverfish. It was hard to tell because the doctor's hot dog blocked off his expression, but Milo thought the doctor might possibly be smirking at him. Milo didn't think about it very long, though. What he had to do now was find some broccoli. He went down to the kitchen and opened the freezer. Underneath a bowl of fake whip behind a bag of instant waffles, he found what he was looking for. Broccoli, read the package, in a delicious imitation cheese sauce made from only the finest, most succulent chemicals. Dr. Silverfish hadn't said anything about imitation cheese sauce, but it was liable to be messy when it thawed out. Milo closed the freezer and opened the refrigerator. He was in luck. There in the crisper, right next to a plastic bag of carrots with a buck-toothed bunny on it, was a huge stalk of broccoli. Milo wondered whether he should take it without mentioning it to somebody. Normally, his parents didn't mind his taking things from the fridge, but usually what he took was milk or pie or pop or something. Vegetables were a very different story. Milo couldn't remember taking a single vegetable out of the refrigerator unless pickles and olives counted. He figured he'd better ask just to be on the safe side. Milo went into the living room where his parents were watching the news. Mom? Do you mind if I borrow some broccoli for a while?
Milo got his broccoli and he got his instructions, which were to wear that stalk of broccoli around his neck all day long, both at home and at school. Things got off to a shaky start because you can imagine the reaction Milo got when he came down to breakfast wearing a stalk of broccoli.
An almost perfect day, Milo thought as he looked out the window next morning. Milo himself, however, was a long way from perfection. As usual, he fought with his sister about who would use the bathroom first, and as usual, his sister won. Then Milo played his radio too loud, and his parents shouted for him to turn it down. At last, he was dressed. It was time to get serious. Milo stood in front of the mirror and picked up the broccoli. It looked rather tired and limp despite its night's rest. Milo put the string around his neck, and the broccoli dangled upside down in front of his chest. It was the dumbest looking thing he'd ever seen, but he didn't dare laugh because this was a matter of the utmost importance. Then he realized he'd have to eat breakfast and face his family with this green vegetable hanging from his neck. It was not going to be easy. He dawdled a while. "Milo," called his mother from downstairs. "You're late for breakfast." Milo looked in the mirror and fiddled with the broccoli. He tried sticking it under his shirt, but all that did was make him lumpy. His family would never overlook a lump that size in a million years. Better to leave the broccoli out where everyone could admire it. "Milo! Milo!" his father hollered. "Get down here." Milo went down the stairs and into the dining room. The minute his sister saw him, she laughed so hard she sprayed a mouthful of oat whammies all over the table. But his parents were too busy staring at Milo to scold her. "What," his mother asked in astonishment, "is that?" Milo tried to play dumb. "What do you mean?" "That thing hanging from your neck," said his father. "Oh, that," said Milo calmly. "That's a stalk of broccoli." "Sure, Dad," said Alyssa. "Lots of people walk around with stalks of broccoli hanging from their necks. That's how you can tell the morons from the rest of us." Milo made a face at her. She made a worse one back. "Would you mind telling me just what you think you're doing?" his mother inquired. "Well, I'm wearing this broccoli around my neck." "Is this some kind of new fad or something?" asked his father. "No," said Milo, trying hard to think of an explanation that would satisfy his parents. "We're doing a play in school about nutrition. I'm one of the vegetables." "Well, good thing you're not the watermelon," said his sister. "You wouldn't be able to stand up straight." "Do you have to wear this broccoli at the breakfast table?" Mrs. Crinkly asked. "Yes," Milo replied. "It helps me remember my lines." His mother gave a deep sigh. "Milo, that broccoli is for tonight's dinner. Be sure to put it back in the fridge when you get home from school." "I can't," said Milo, feeling sillier by the minute. "Why not?" Milo thought very hard. "Because I need to wear it tonight, too." "I thought you said the play was today." "No, today's only a rehearsal. The play is really tomorrow." "If you ask me, I've got a broccoli brain for a brother," said Alyssa. "All right, Milo," Mrs. Crinkly sighed. "By the time it finishes walking around with you all day, that broccoli won't be fit for human consumption anyhow. We'll use up the leftover rutabaga tonight." "Not rutabaga again," cried Alyssa, sticking her tongue out in disgust. For once, Milo tended to agree with her.
Wearing a stalk of broccoli all day was pretty bad because Milo was humiliated and embarrassed. But the second day and the third day were even worse. I'll let you read about them yourself. Be a Perfect Person by Stephen Manis. And I have another book by Stephen Manis. If you like the Oscar Noodleman stories, you might like Chicken Trek. And if you'd like to read about the most imperfect kids in the world, as a matter of fact, the meanest kids in the world, you'll enjoy The Herdmans and The Best Christmas Pageant Ever by Barbara Robinson. I think you'll enjoy all these books. And remember, if you're going to be a perfect person, go find some broccoli. I'll see you next time.